I went to see Alan Juppé later as well when they changed that. I went to Germany to see Klaus Kinkel. He said, no, 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 absolutely. We can't harbor, it's too dangerous. I said, but you're not going to, he's going to guarantee you no drugs. I couldn't find a single country that would allow that there. Had those stupid people, it was no good asking Serbia because there's no drugs in Serbia at the time. And you know why? Because no one had any bloody money to pay for them. It was hard enough to buy cigarettes and petrol and everything. Imagine if you're going to buy drugs. You only have a drug problem where there's money. No money, no drugs. So Serbia didn't have that. There's no good asking, Milosevic, can we host them here? We had enough bloody aggravation already as it was without adding to it there. And that is the reason. And I had to report back to Mr. Escobar through his lawyer to say, look, I couldn't find, even I, the devil's advocate myself, could not find a country that would, that on that basis. And how stupid and how short-sighted. Had they have accepted, these were innocent people, the wife, the children, the mother, had nothing to do with what, were there. Had they have hosted and given them asylum, imagine today, they just get on a boat and go to Lampedusa or go to cross the channel. It would be easy to, wouldn't even need me to do that. But then that there would have been no drugs whatsoever at all. And perhaps he would have been, the reason they tracked him was his phone call to his family. If his family had been safe abroad, he wouldn't have had to call them because he knew they were safe and he would still be alive and there'd be no drugs until obviously the day that he died of natural causes or someone killed him there. And that is the reason that we went to Colombia. That Radoica came along with me simply because he wanted to see the city. And we took 2 members of the Zemun clan as well for protection. Because when you go to meet people like Mr. Escobar, it's better to be careful. It's better to be caught than to be sorry. So we had our own protection. But he was a fantastic host. He put 5 people on our aircraft at night because they steal aircraft there, the drug people. They steal your aircraft. That we were not touched that. And I have to say, I'm eternally grateful to him for everything. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to complete what he wanted me to do, because it would have been a lot easier for Europe. They would have had a drug-free, probably 20 years, and he would have kept his word. That's why we went to Colombia. But nothing to do with taking drugs. Absolutely zilch. Never discussed. Never. Was solely for that reason. And Radoica said to me, why are they, when we came back to Belgrade and I'd seen Kinkel, I'd seen bloody Juppé, I'd seen Dumas, I saw all these people. They said, why aren't they accepting the offer? I said, I don't know. Even Emilio Colombo. I even saw Benjamin Andreotta later, just in case that one of them was kind. No way. They weren't having it. And that's the mistake Europe made.
Can you name us those 2 Zemun clan members?
Oh, I can't remember now their names, but they were very, very good people there. They did their job, they protected. There was nothing at all. We simply took, I had protection in Belgrade from the Serbian Guard of Volunteers, Srpska Dobrovoljačka Garda. But I mean, other than one person who was in Rome with me, Sasha, I mean, I can't, I really can't remember many. We're talking about now, I mean, my youngest son is 27. So we're talking about an awful long time ago. And, it's not names, but they were inconstant. They had nothing to do with criminality at all. Nothing came on our plane. When you're flying from Bogota, you go to Recife. You then fly to the Canary Islands because, the plane, we can do, 6-7 hours, but you can't do, it wasn't a G4 plane. Our aircraft in MGM, the G4, we could do Los Angeles, Rome, or Los Angeles, Copenhagen, non-stop. Sometimes I would stop at Goose Bay because I was nervous about the fuel, but that's just me being stupid there. And that's how it came. Let me tell you about Slobo as well, about Milosevic. a very good man, an honest man, a very, very, very honest man. He died with, I think, $11,000 in it. He never stole any money. He was criticized by his own people because he was madly in love with his wife, Mirjana. What the hell is wrong with that? I used to tell Gospodin Gavin, I told Željko, I told Radojica, I told a number of people there. In 1993, we went to Monaco to meet Bernie Ecclestone and Slavica, his wife, to bring Formula One to Belgrade, which is still very much a possibility, let me tell you. Now, Bernie has got a trial, a fraud trial coming up next month. So depending on that, that would be my gift to the people of Belgrade there, you know, because at the end of the day, we still have influence on Formula One, even though he's sold out there. That's what they were planning. They were not planning stealing money. They were planning on building something, of having something substantial in Serbia for Serbia to be proud of. That's what we were doing. We didn't go there to go to the casino. We went to meet Ecclestone and Slavica. Slavica was, of course, you know, Serbian as well. So it helped that his wife, they could speak the language. And what a polite lady Slavica always was to me. She's always been very good to me. She would always apologize when she spoke in Serbian, you know, to my colleagues there, because my Serbian is limited, very, very limited. But one thing I do know, I learned the first thing in Yugoslavia, how to count so I wouldn't get screwed over with money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 20.000 funti. So that was the trip there. Milosevic, when we were under NATO bombing, he moved for a while to the White House, the Plava, which was Tito's house, just for a short while, because I believed that they would not, because they wanted to assassinate him. I knew that there, but they didn't want to, they couldn't bring people on board because I would have known about it. There, I had very, very, very good information from Brussels. I went to school with one of Tony Blair's chief advisors. So I had some very, very good connections there. And they would obviously were going to bomb, but they wouldn't bomb Tito's house because it's historic. So I banked on the, but let me tell you, he's the president, you know, of Serbia and Montenegro. There was a problem with the toilet. It didn't flush. He never even had the power to call a plumber. You'd have to go through a number of channels, even during bloody wartime, because the communist regime is still the mentality in Serbia that everything done in triplicate, rešenje, you know, spisak and all that nonsense, and ugovor and all of those things there. Everything had to be done by the book. And remember, the president of Serbia is today Alex Vučić. He can authorize war, but he cannot order it. He can authorize the use of force, but it is for the military to decide when that is to be used. And not many people understood that. People put the blame on Milosevic that he ordered. No, he did not. He did not have the presidential powers. And the same, let me tell you, is in America. Trump and Biden can authorize a strike anywhere, but they cannot order it. There are distinguishing factors. And they copied that from the Yugoslav presidency's powers. And that's something that you need to understand. He died in prison, in my view, unlawfully. He died an innocent man. If we live in a democratic society, he was not convicted. I predicted that he and Saddam would die in prison, you know, because that was the will. Now, was he killed? Was he murdered? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because we cannot hold America and the UK to account. The UK, we might be able to. I prosecuted Tony Blair for what he did in Iraq. I wanted to prosecute also for, you know, what happened in Serbia. You saw my letter to the European Commission there. You saw what bombs that were being used that were completely unlawful. No one gives a damn. You cannot police America. You cannot police Russia. You cannot police China. You cannot police India. there are certain countries that unfortunately are above the law because they will not be told what to do. America is not even part of the International Criminal Tribunal. They refuse to, we have to, submit to it, but they don't. And this is where you have the hypocritical situation. And that's why I will always back Serbia, and I will do everything that I possibly can to make sure that justice is attained. How many people in Serbia, my friend, are dying of cancer? That's more than a coincidence. That's because of the bombs that were used, unlawfully against the Serbian people there. And I am not scared of anything. I will say it, and I will say, and I don't care what it costs me. The truth is the truth. Honor is honor, and dignity is dignity. A man that has none of those three is ništa, is not even a čovjek. I don't want to mention the word what he is, but it begins with a K and ends with a C in Serbian.
Everybody understood. There are many people who are not with us today. One of them was mentioned a couple times in this video. We're talking about Radojica Nikčević. I'm sure you asked yourself, what happened so he lost his life?
Well, in October 1993, the day before he was killed, my now wife, we weren't married then, we were invited to dinner at Radojica's house with his wife Senya, who incidentally worked for the Ministry of Interior, and who was an excellent translator and superb. She'd done a lot of translation work there. So and Radojica spoke a number of languages, and so did Željko there. So we went to dinner there, and we got back to Jenik's apartment very, very late in the day, at something in the region of about midnight. Now, Radojica said to me, Đovani, be ready. 8:30 to 9 o'clock, we need to go to the office to deal with some stuff with Shumadi there, because I was giving a hand and helping, and Radio Penguin, which we'll deal with, and Cafe Penguin as well, which we'll deal with, in due course there. I said, okay. However, when you have a very, very beautiful woman with you, timings are not always to be respected. And so I got a phone call from downstairs, from Radojica. He was there, and Jenik says, come on, Đovani. I said, no, you go and I'll come later on. He said, I'm tired, we had a late night and that. He said, okay, but don't be late. Had I have gone with him, inevitably, I'd have had to be killed as well. Maybe that. But the chances were pretty good. You hit one, you hit both. For what reason is still not crystal clear, because he had nothing to do with drugs, and he certainly was not involved in any kind of criminal activity. Yes, he knew many criminals, but so do I. I represent a number of terrorist organizations. Doesn't make me one, though. Just means that a representation of that there. So he was murdered. I got a phone call later on, from Lydia, his secretary, all inside. I had to pass it over, to my wife. They said, "Oh, what the hell is this woman saying? She's crazy." And she said, Radojica has been killed. So I quickly got up, went there. What shocked me was that within half an hour, the crime scene had been cleared. There was still blood on the ground and brains on the ground where someone had shot him in the back of the head as he was walking. That alerted me. Obviously, I've done a number of murder cases there, and one of the things at the scene of the crime is the most protected place, especially the first 28 hours. Ljubinko, who was the driver, was already sweeping up and washing up on the orders of the police. So I was somewhat concerned. I went to the police there, I forget his name now, the Minister of Interior, who gave me the citizenship. And I said, look, what the hell? He said, let's just close this. We just keep this closed, and we'll investigate and find out, why and wherefore. So I had to accept that. That I went with my lawyer as well, Dubrovka, who I gave my witness statement, said, what had happened and everything there. And I still, to the next day, when I went to Shumadia the next day, because I was going to be sure that for 40 days there was a cup of coffee on his desk and his cigarette there, which is the tradition of Serbia, for one that's killed. When I was walking through Vase Pelegica 54 there, when you get to Shumadia, there were two men that looked like gypsies that were there on the grass there. I had two guns, dve utoka, in my back pocket. And I'm telling you now, I swear to God on my father's tomb, had those two men moved 1 inch or put their hand anywhere near anywhere, I would have shot them dead and accepted the consequences in due course. As it happens, they looked at me, I looked at them, and they just turned around and disappeared from everywhere. But I swear to you, had they have made one, all they had to make is one move, and they would have been blown to pieces. Believe you me, there. Now, I am not a violent man. I repudiate war. Our Italian constitution repudiates war and violence. But on that occasion, I would have made an exception to the rule there, because no way am I